am Dr. Tabitha, the Gutsy Gynecologist. I'm a triple board certified OBGYN and functional medicine physician. I've embraced the world of functional medicine and wellness through my own personal health journey, and I'm super excited to share my wisdom and unique perspective as it pertains to women's health. After caring for thousands of women, I've come to realize that your gut health determines your gyne health and your overall health. And it's a super gutsy thing for me to go against conventional gynecology practice to bring you the truth. No more Band-Aid medicine, ladies. We're talking root cause resolution on this show. So if you're struggling with hormone imbalance, weight gain, period issues, anxiety, insomnia, you name it, then you've come to the right place. And I want to be your gutsy gynecologist. So welcome. Hi, ladies. So I'm super excited for this episode because I'm talking to Karalynne Call. She's the owner of Just Ingredients. I was on her podcast a few months back, and I got a huge welcome reception from all of her listeners and followers because they are awesome ladies, just like you guys are. So I love that we're connecting these worlds, because the more women can band together, unite together, the more we can make shit happen. Really, we need to support each other and find out how to just live healthy, not focus on disease and all of that stuff. Like, let's focus on being healthy and happy and fulfilling our purpose in this world. Like, why are we here? We are definitely not here to just go to work, get a paycheck, come home, sleep, and do it all over again. I just don't believe that. I believe that God created us for purposes to fulfill, and it's our job to figure out what that is. And my guest, Karalynne, she really did that. She turned her pain into purpose, and she's going to share her story a little bit. And I just love it so much because she is now that she figured out how to reclaim her health, she is helping other women do the same. And she's offering clean healthcare products and, deodorant and shampoo and face serum, in addition to nutritional stuff. So, I just love when people, make lemonade out of lemons. So you're really going to enjoy this. There's some major golden nuggets in this episode today. So I hope you'll listen all the way through, and you can always pause and come back. And if you feel like you are getting something out of this, I would be super appreciative if you would hit the subscribe button, let iTunes know you want to hear more of this, send me a 5-star review, let me know what you're thinking, what you want to hear more of, because I do this for you ladies. So let me just sing her praises real quick. Karalynne Call, she's the owner of Just Ingredients and the podcast with the same name she hosts. She's a certified nutritionist and mom of 6. That's awesome. She began her health journey 15 years ago as she battled severe depression. She's helped many others begin their own health journey. She shares the how-tos and the whys behind choosing better, whole, clean foods in your diet and daily product use. Over 500,000 people follow her on Instagram at Just Ingredients, and now you guys are going to too. You're going to find helpful advice on how to make those small changes in your life and, make a long-term benefit for your health. So definitely follow her at Just Ingredients. In addition to her impact on socials, she's launched her own successful and growing product line of clean products in 2019, like I mentioned, called Just Ingredients. So all the links are in the show notes. Connect with her, listen to this podcast, hit the subscribe button, and then share it with all your girlfriends, right? And think of something that you can take from this episode to incorporate into your daily life to keep moving that needle, ladies. So here we go. Well, welcome, Karalynne, to the Gutsy Gynecologist Show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited
to have me.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this conversation because what you're doing is super impressive. And I just love when women support other women and really help move the needle for each other. I want you to share your story with us. I want all the women to understand, like, you can reclaim your health. The second half of our life should be the best, the most amazing part, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. And I love helping other women as well. And I love what you're doing. Do you want me to just tell you a little bit about my background and how I got started in all of this?
Yeah, please.
So, about 16 years ago, I found myself with really bad depression, and in fact, actually suicidal depression. And
Mm.
I actually got to such a low and such a dark place and just thought, I can't deal with this depression anymore, that I actually attempted suicide. And thankfully, by the grace of God, it did not happen. And at that point, I was like, wow, what have I just done? Like, it was a wake up call. And I was like, I need help. I need real help. And so at that point, I figured I've been given a second chance at life. Like, I've got to get my act together and figure this out. And so I started going to doctor after doctor asking for help. And all they would do is put me on an antidepressant. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a time and a place for an antidepressant. It saved my life at the time. But I kept saying to them, will this heal me? And they kept saying, no, we don't know what will heal you. Now, today, 16 years later, if you have a doctor who says that, that is your key to run.
Yes.
But so doctor after doctor, same thing, like, well, we can change the dosage. We can try a different antidepressant. And every time, will this heal me? And they kept saying no. And so 2 years later, it took 2 years of going to doctor after doctor that I finally found a doctor that was like, yes, I can help you heal. And it's going to take a lot of work on your part. There isn't a magic pill. It doesn't happen overnight. This might be like a 2-year long journey with me, but I can help you. But we've got to do a lot of tests. We're going to do blood work. We're going to do saliva tests. We're going to do urine tests, just a whole variety of tests. And long story short, we found out that it was just some simple, basic things that were wrong. Like, my vitamin D was really low. I wasn't absorbing B vitamins. I had food intolerances. My magnesium was really low. My inflammation markers were really high. I mean, there was this whole list of things, but things that could be fixed if I knew how. Because back then, I didn't know anything about nutrition. I was eating cereal for breakfast, probably some bologna sandwich for lunch, and dinner, who knows what I was eating. I wasn't ever, maybe I ate 1 carrot a day if I was lucky, I didn't know about nutrition. I just ate what I bought at the grocery store. And so anyways, I went on this long journey with this doctor, and she helped me with all those things that I said that were wrong. But she also taught me some basics about my body and putting things in and on my body that would nourish it rather than not be beneficial for it. And so after about a year of working with her and doing lots of testing, then we took another year to wean off my medication. And I've never been on antidepressants ever since, because I feel like I healed it and I learned how to keep it in check. And so about 3-4 years ago, I felt like everybody around me was dealing with autoimmune, migraines, depression, anxiety, fatigue, all these different things. And I just had this inner voice tell me over and over, you need to start speaking up. It's your turn to speak. You've been through this. You know how you can help these women. These women are in the same places you were, 15, 16 years ago. Help them. And so I just thought, okay, I'll start an Instagram account. And if I get 2,000 followers that will listen to me, I will love it. And I just started giving these daily tips, like, hey, did you know ketchup has high fructose corn syrup in it? And that might not be the best for your body. So buy the one right next to it. And I just started giving these daily little tips, and my account started really growing. And it dawned on me that people are really hungry out there for information. And they want just little tidbits that are doable that they can actually do in their life. And so that is where Just Ingredients came from.
Oh my gosh. I love your story. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable, because I think there's a lot of women out there who have struggled, especially with mood disorders, mood issues. And it's so important for women to realize that depression is often a symptom. It's not an actual disease that we need to fix with medications, right? It's a symptom. It's a message that there are things wrong in your body. Your body's not able to function. And your story is like the perfect example of that, because you didn't have some crazy mold or Lyme disease or something, hardcore. Like your body just was struggling to function and you were putting the wrong things into it. And so that's what I want to talk about today is like, some women just need to get back to the basics. We want to find all these mystery diagnoses and make it so complicated when we're not even sleeping 8 hours or drinking more than a glass of water or
Right.
handling our stress and that kind of stuff. So I love that you are out there like keeping it simple and actually doable for women to move the needle. So for you, it looked like figuring out what was going on in your body's systems. But then let's talk about like, what were some of the things that your practitioner taught you about like nourishing your body and all of that type of stuff?
So I'll tell you, my first thing I told the doctor was like, I have this personality that if you overwhelm me, I'm just going to throw my hands up in the air and say, forget it. Like, I can't do it. I don't want to be on some new trendy diet. I don't want to, any of that stuff. I just want a new, like a healthy way of life to live. And so she was like, that's fine. We'll just, learn one thing at a time. And I tell people it doesn't have to cost a ton of money either, because at the time we were so poor. We had like 4 little kids. My husband had tried to start a business. It went terrible. So we did it on a shoestring budget. And so I tell people it's that easy. Well, not that easy, but it doesn't cost a ton to do this. So for instance, the very first thing she said was, you need to get moving your body and you need to start drinking water. Like, is that easy enough to start with? And I was like, yes, I can do that. So water doesn't cost much. And I was like, well, I can't afford a gym, but I can afford walking every day and getting the benefit of the vitamin D while I'm walking. So I just started walking, jogging every day. Then she was like, let's just add probiotics in. And I was like, well, I actually can't afford probiotics. So she was like, you know what? Eat a spoonful of kimchi every morning, like it's medicine. Don't take it as a yummy, delicious food, because I don't think it is. But let's just start with that, And then she started saying, let's now look at whole grains. Like, do you have any whole grains in your diet? And I was like, what is even a whole grain? Like, she was like, how about quinoa? Have you tried quinoa? And I was like, what? Like, what are we talking about? I mean, that's how little I knew about food and nutrition. And so she would teach me or suggest one little thing at a time, and then I would move on to the next thing. And so it wasn't this overwhelming thing, like you've got to change everything now. It was like, let's do baby steps and let's get you moving. Let's get you drinking lots of water. Let me get you on some supplements, and let's start talking about your food and what you're really putting in your body. And then the other really interesting thing was, she was like, I want you to just pay attention to how many fruits and vegetables you're eating every day. And that was eye-opening. I'm like, whoops, well, not very many, which now, knowing about food, I'm like, oh my gosh, those fruits and vegetables are full of so many phytonutrients, so much fiber, which is amazing for our gut. We need to feed the good bacteria. And as you know, the fiber is feeding that good bacteria. I mean, just full of so many antioxidants and minerals and vitamins and amazing things for our body. And I'm like, of course, my body was screaming for help with that depression. It wasn't getting the nutrients it needed to even function on a basic level. It was in survival mode for so many years and finally broke and just screamed depression at me and was screaming help. And
Yes.
So that's why I encourage women also, is to find your root cause. Because if your body is screaming at you with tiredness and migraines and terrible PMS and depression, anxiety, all these things, it's usually your body screaming, help me, something's off, help me find that root cause and fix it.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you didn't give up, because unfortunately, many conventional doctors give the answer that you heard multiple times. Like, I don't know what caused it. I don't know how to fix it. And there are doctors who do know. There are doctors who actually study
Right.
wellness, right? I mean, you can't be in a disease state and a healthy state. Just like conventional doctors, they practice disease-focused medicine. They don't practice wellness, health-focused medicine. And so you have to find the right provider for you. And, I would love to hear more about your diet, because I think women, we've been trained to like just focus on the calories, just stay under 1,800 calories. That's what counts. I mean, I literally remember being in residency and like counting out how many calories were in my donut and my Dairy Queen Blizzard to make sure that I was staying under for the day. It had nothing to do with nutrition. And I was struggling. Oh my gosh, I struggled so bad. So tell me why women should never eat cereal, right? And explain to women, like, when you're busy eating all these processed foods, you're not getting in the vegetables and the fruits that you're supposed to, right?
Yes, exactly. And in fact, so when I had all of this depression, I now look back and think, oh, this makes sense, because it was back in the days when it was the low fat craze. And so low fat everything. And I was proud of myself if I got less than 10 grams of fat a day, because I was counting my fat grams. Like, I thought that's what we did. And now looking back, seeing that my inflammation was so high, I probably was getting 0 omega-3s. And omega-3s, as we know, is what brings down our inflammation. It's what helps with hormones. So I'm like, no wonder why my hormones were off and my inflammation was so high. And so it's important for women to know it's not about calories. It's about nourishing your body with the correct ingredients. And so I'm always talking about, does that nourish your body or not? So low fats, were those nourishing my body? No, there are healthy fats that we know nourish the body, that are rich in those omega-3s. And that's what we need to nourish our body with. Those omega-3s, like I said, are great for hormones, for your brain, for so many different issues in your body. And so I am always telling people, like, this is not some new diet. It's not some new trendy thing. It's a way of life. If you want your body to work the best it can for you, then you've got to feed it the best you can. And so that is putting in the right nutrients at every meal. Does that mean you can't ever enjoy a treat? No. But the problem is we're eating too much sugar on a daily basis. We're not getting enough fiber in every day. And so all of that adds up so that the treats are too much. But if we're eating a healthy diet and getting less sugar and more fiber and more fruits and vegetables, then a treat here and there isn't going to, throw us off of this healthy lifestyle.
Exactly.
So I tell women, it's not about counting the calories. It's looking at each meal. How is this nourishing my body? And it goes the same with processed foods. Like, look at the processed foods, read the ingredients. Are they whole food ingredients that will nourish your body? Okay, if they are, then it's probably okay. If not, and you don't know what those ingredients are, and you don't know if they nourish your body, well, there's probably a better choice snack or food item out there.
Yeah, exactly. So what would you say is the first thing women should be getting rid of and putting in their diet?
So I think people complicate it and they're trying to count macros or calories or whatever. And honestly, I just say, put in more vegetables and more fruit. Fruit gets tricky. So start with vegetables.
Yeah.
Put in more vegetables, because again, like I said, Americans don't get enough fiber. Fiber is so important for so many functions in our body. And so just start there. And sometimes people think we've got to get rid of. How about add in? So if we're adding in all these foods, it actually will just by natural means get rid of some of that junk that we've been eating. And so when it gets really overwhelming for women, I'm like, just start with putting in more veggies.
I love that so much because you're right. If you start with veggies and you eat them, your body will actually be nourished and feel full and satisfied, and you won't tend to go and eat all the stuff that you're not supposed to be eating. That's the trick I do with my kids. I'm like, just eat your veggies and get them out of the way. And then you
Right.
can have whatever garbage you want. And they oftentimes don't eat the garbage because they're satisfied, right? Or they eat a lot less of it. I remember listening to a Mark Hyman podcast. Someone was talking about the fact that you can eat like an entire bag of Doritos, but you can only eat, a half a cup of broccoli because your body actually tells you it's satisfied. It got those nutrients, whereas you're eating this nutrient lacking Franken food, your body never gets the signal that it's full because it's like, I'm still waiting for the nutrition, right? Like,
Right.
we all know we've been there and ate the bag of Doritos. So,
Well, and there's a lot of artificial ingredients that trick the brain with that as well. So artificial sweeteners sort of do the same thing, tricking the brain of, oh, I haven't gotten full enough, things like that. So yeah, a lot of those artificial ingredients have those issues. And this is what I tell parents and tell women, your kids will eat the fruits and vegetables if they're out. So if they're like out and easy to access. So for instance, when the kids get home from school, just put a plate of veggies out on the counter and see what happens. They'll start picking at things. They're hungry. They're going to grab a few things in the fridge instead of, all these bars and different things. Put in the fridge the apples, the oranges, the fun fruits and cheese,
yes.
oh my goodness, string cheese. That's what I was trying to say. String
Yes.
cheese, things that are nutritious that they'll just grab. If as parents, we don't buy it and bring it into our home, then it's no longer an issue.
Right.
So
right.
you're the gatekeeper. The mom is usually, or the parents are the gatekeepers. So provide for yourself, provide for the kids in the home what you want them to eat.
Yeah. And my kids, they want the quickest, easiest thing possible. And that's usually processed food. So I love what you're saying. Like, have it cut up, have it ready to go, have it in front of their face, and they're probably going to pick it because they want to go play. They want to go do whatever. Right. So I love that so much. That's really important. Oh my gosh. Well, I love all this. So I want to talk also about how we get exposed to things, in our beauty products and what goes on in our skin, because not only does it matter what we absorb in our gut, but what we absorb in our mind and on our skin. And so you have an amazing line of products and you really talk a lot about this. So I would love for you to just touch on this.
Yeah. So actually, years ago, when I was working with this doctor, she was like, and maybe your body lotion is playing a part. And I was like, my body lotion? Like, how does that affect depression? And she was like, well, just think you're rubbing it all over your body from like head to toe, maybe multiple times a day. And it's being rubbed right into, or a lot of those ingredients right into your bloodstream. Do you even know what's in that? And that was the first time I was like, oh, wow. Okay. If we absorb these toxins or digest these toxins, and obviously that makes sense that we can absorb them as well. And so I started learning all about endocrine disruptors. And these endocrine disruptors are in a lot of our beauty supplies. And there's like parabens. Well, parabens are a preservative. And we do need a preservative in our beauty products so that they don't go moldy or grow bacteria. But we know how to preserve with other things that are natural, like vitamin E and derivatives from coconut, things like that. Another endocrine disruptor is phthalates. Phthalates are what keeps all of our beauty products smelling for years. A Bath and Body Works lotion 5 years later still smells like the blossom cherry or whatever it is. But those phthalates are an endocrine disruptor. Endocrine disruptors, as you know, are chemicals that are mimicking our hormones so that our real hormones can't actually do their full job. And I think of all these women dealing with terrible PMS and infertility, as and horrible cramping and bleeding. I'm like, well, is your body full of endocrine disruptors? Is that something you need to evaluate in your life? And, there's more than just the parabens and the phthalates. There's aluminum, there's dioxins that are found like in tampons and pads, things like that. There's PFASs and glyphosate. I mean, there's a big list now of these endocrine disruptors. And so for a lot of people, again, that gets overwhelming. And so I say one thing at a time. Let's start with your body lotion since it's all over your body. That's different than maybe your mascara, right? Your mascara is on your lashes. It's probably not as a big of concern as body lotion. So when you run out of your body lotion, find a body lotion at Target, Walmart, your grocery store. You don't have to go to Whole Foods. Find one that is without the parabens, the phthalates, without these endocrine disruptors that are contributing to your hormonal mess. And then from there, once you've got body lotion down, maybe try out new shampoos and conditioners, or try out new face washes, face lotions. Just make it a fun journey where you're just trying new products and changing one thing out at a time. But I think people are surprised with how much is in our products when they find out. And then they're surprised how much better they actually feel once they go off of these beauty products that are just full of so many toxic ingredients.
Yeah, I think that's a super important thing for women to realize, because we want everything to have a smell to it. We want everything to smell good. And I personally try to never have things with smell unless it's a natural, actual smell. Fragrance is toxic. You see that word fragrance on a product? That means it's a bunch of chemicals that they don't even have to disclose to you legally. They just call it fragrance. And those are usually the worst.
Right.
So yeah, all that Bath and Body Works, all those companies where they're just adding all those parabens and phthalates, that is toxic to our bodies. So I think that's super important. And like you mentioned, it can get overwhelming, right? So just start with one thing and start with your personal care products. Then you can move to your cleaning products or your kitchen pots and pans and all of that stuff. I mean, do you talk about that on your podcast at all?
I do. I talk about it when doctors bring it up on my podcast. I talk mainly about it on my Instagram account. But one other thing that I forgot to tell you about the beauty products that I get told quite often is, yeah, but those ingredients are in each of those products in a safe amount, whatever has been regulated by the FDA. And this is what I say to people, or they say, well, it's just a little bit. It's just a little bit in that product. So then I say to them, well, how much is a little bit? Because in the morning, think of like your teenage daughters. And there's so many teenagers dealing with depression and anxiety and hormonal issues. And this makes me sad because I think, okay, they get in the shower and they use shampoo and conditioner that's got these endocrine disruptors in them. Then they use a body wash. Then they use a shaving cream. Then they get out of the shower and use a body lotion, a face lotion, deodorant, makeup that all have endocrine disruptors in them. And then they use perfume, and then they use, the list goes on, right? So how much is a little bit when they've used 12, 13 products in one morning just to get ready? And so I think it's time that people just sort of wake up and be aware and educate themselves as to what's going on out there and how they can best help their own body.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Thank you for saying that. And I want to like really emphasize this fact, because toxic burden is a cumulative problem. It is not a one-time exposure problem. So those chemicals that we are absorbing, they're staying in our body. They're not quickly and easily getting removed. Our bodies even know how to process them. They didn't exist until 70 years ago, right? I mean, our great grandparents never saw phthalates. They didn't exist. We made them in the lab. And so our body doesn't know what to do with them, and they accumulate over time. So that is how the government gets away with it, because it's safe in that one tiny dose, that one time. That's what they do for pesticides in our food and for, the food dye colorings. Yes, it is safe that one time, that one dose didn't kill that rat. It's an accumulative effect every single day, year after year, what you're doing to your body. So thank you so much for sharing that point, because that's the golden nugget of the day right there.
Yeah. And the problem is it's not just beauty products, it's the food, but it's also cleaning supplies and air fresheners and plugins. I mean, the government's just allowing all this stuff in our products. So we have to be aware now, because how much is like you said, it's just a little bit in the all purpose cleaner and a little bit in the plugins and a little bit in the laundry soap and a little bit, and all these things that we use. And it's actually interesting. The EPA did a huge study where they tested thousands of people's homes, and they actually found out that the air inside people's homes were more toxic than in big populated cities because of these cleaning supplies and plugins and all these air fresheners and things like that. And so I tell people it's not just that we digest the toxins, we absorb them, but we also breathe them in our own home. And that's actually something really easy that we can take control of, is the air in our own homes.
Yeah. And I think especially during the winter, we see so much more depression, and everybody just wants to attribute it to lack of sun and vitamin D. But we are enclosed so much more, and we have the heaters blaring and that same nasty air recirculating. And you're probably using even more air fresheners and Febreze and all that crap, right? So it's like you're extra toxic unless you live in a beautiful sunny place, which I do not. So
I don't either. So
I know it's like some mornings I open the door to let the dog out and I just smell the fresh air and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I am in this stuffy, nasty, warm, falsely warm house. It's toxic. So I love all these points you're making, because they're super important, because the only way for us to change and take control of our health is to know, right? So
right.
that's like your big thing, is like, let's just know what's going on. Let's know what we're putting in our body, and let's focus on like just real ingredients, right?
Exactly. It's time for people to be educated. And it's not that they have to go get some PhD or some master's in something. It's just, let's think logically about nourishing our body. So that comes in all forms of, like I said, food, hygiene, cleaning supplies. Let's just be smart with what we're using. So, and I think the pendulum is swinging though, because I think we were so far in one direction of all frozen foods and anything processed and whatever. And I think people are now waking up, and that pendulum is swinging to the other side, where now, because the consumer is demanding better products and better choice products, companies are starting to make better things. I mean, 5 years ago, it was really hard to find a lotion without parabens and phthalates. Now you see multiple companies making them, multiple brands, and same is happening with food too. I mean, every popsicle out there used to have artificial dyes in it. Now you go to the store and there's multiple brands without the artificial dyes. And so I think that pendulum is swinging, and I think people are thinking, okay, I don't want to be sick. I don't want to have depression. I don't want cancer. I don't want all these things that are happening in the world. What do I need to do to better myself?
Yeah, exactly. And some of the big companies are actually feeling that pressure from the smaller companies, all, giving us these better options. I mean, McDonald's just took out that product out of their burger that was like some actual fake chemical to preserve it. And it's like majorly cancer causing, but the only reason they did that is they felt the pressure. So we just have to keep demanding as consumers, like, no, we want clean products. We want cleaner food. We don't want all this shit in our food, right?
Well, I tell people we vote with our dollars.
Yeah.
A good example is in 2018, Johnson and Johnson's profits went down by like 20%. And so they reformulated all their baby products without the phthalates and parabens in it, because people saw the other baby choices without it. And Johnson and Johnson was like, crud, we've got to do something about it then. Yeah. So the consumer needs to speak, and they can speak out by voting with their dollars.
That's awesome. I love that. So what kind of resources do you have for women who are like ready to make changes?
So I actually have a bunch of free downloads on my website, where like there's a beauty guide. So if they want to just learn what products are good in the beauty world, there's lots of different ones on there. There's like the 10 easiest grocery shopping changes to make, lots of different just free downloads that they can download. And of course, my Instagram, I try to give daily tips just to help people out. And we also have a Facebook group, which has been really interesting. People chime in on that all the time of things that worked for them, things that helped, doctors they've seen that they, have liked, things like that. So that Facebook group is a great community as well. And then of course, my podcast, I do a podcast as well, just trying to teach people like you're trying to do, like, let's just get the word out there as much as we can.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I'm really excited for my listeners to get your free downloads and start following you and just get informed, because that's what it takes. We have to take it into our own hands. We cannot rely on doctors to make us healthy, right? It's not going to happen.
Well, and what I always say though, is there are good doctors out there.
Yes.
And so I always say, go to your doctor. If they don't work for you, just say, thank you so much for your time and move on, and realize that not every doctor is an expert in every area. And so maybe that doctor just wasn't an expert in what you're looking for or needing. So move on to the next one. And it's totally okay to do that. I think people think, oh, this is my family doctor, I've got to stay with him, or her. And it's okay to move on and just thank them for their time and move on and find one that's a better fit for you.
Exactly. And don't let insurance dictate what doctor you go to. That I hear sometimes it's like, oh, my insurance doesn't let me see that doctor. You see who you need to see. You know what I mean? Like whether you have to pay cash or whether you have to go outside of your coverage, like whatever it takes. But I love everything you're doing. So thank you so much for being on. This has been amazing.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. Thank you for what you're doing, because I love that you're trying to educate women as well. So thank you.
We got to do it together. That's all there is to it.
We do. We do.
All right. Wasn't that awesome? I love Karalynne's, just her energy. It's very calming. It's very nurturing. I love her. So definitely follow her. The links are in the show notes. And think about what you're going to take away from this episode today to start incorporating into your life. I think one of the major golden nuggets was that toxic burden is an accumulation. She talks about how one little thing is technically safe, and that's how they get away with having all those toxins in your beauty products and cleaning products. But it's the accumulation of you using them every single day, month after month, year after year, and your body not able to process and remove it efficiently, that really can wreak havoc on your health. And so I challenge you to get rid of everything that smells, that has a smell to it that isn't a natural smell that just coexists with that thing. Like a Christmas tree that's real smells like pine needles. That's a real natural scent. Doing a Glade plug-in that smells like a Christmas tree, not so much, right? Baking an apple pie has a smell to it. Burning a candle that is apple pie flavored, that is a toxic ingredient that you should not be smelling. So I would challenge you, get rid of the smells for a few months and see, maybe I'm not so tired. Maybe I'm not so irritable. Maybe I'm not dragging so much and I have more energy. You'd be surprised at what getting rid of those fragrances can do for your health. Your body doesn't have to struggle so much to deal with those anymore. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please share it with every lady that you know. We're in this together. Give me a 5-star review and go out and have an amazing kick-ass week, ladies, because that is what it's about. And if you want my help one-on-one, definitely reach out to me at www.drtabitha.com. That's 3 A's, no I's. Please follow me on my new Instagram account, The Gutsy Gynecologist. Dr. Tabitha was hacked months ago. If you are still following that account, please unfollow it, because I've had people reach out to me thinking it's a legitimate account because real legitimate people are still following it. So we cannot let evil win. We have to fight against that. Please help me by unfollowing, getting the word out that that is not a real account. So, all right. Thank you, ladies. Go have an amazing week.